Welcome to Amazing Stories of Amazing Grace. I'm your host, Chester Stanley, and we're delighted to have in the studio Kim Versteden and Duane Haora. I want to welcome you, Kim and Duane, to the program.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you people, and this is a little different from some of the programs where we just have one guest, but on this occasion, because your stories meet, we've invited both of you to come and share. And we'll look forward to sharing your stories with Hope Channel viewers. I think, Duane, probably in terms of sequence, it's good for me to start with you. You have a bit of an accent.
Yes, yeah, I'm from New Zealand.
From New Zealand.
Yeah, born in Rotorua.
We won't hold that against you. And Duane, so you were brought up in the Adventist church, brought up in a Christian family?
Yes, that's right, Chester. We were, well, I was brought up an Adventist, just normal Adventist home, normal church upbringing, and that we born and bred in New Zealand and came over to Australia when I was 10 years old.
Okay, so the family moved across here to Australia.
Yeah.
It must have been the Australian influence, was it? Because if I remember, you shared with us the fact that when you were about 15, what happened when you were about 15 in terms of your relationship to the church and to your faith?
Yeah, I suppose my spiritual aspect would be probably no different to many other young Adventist young people who, I guess, you sort of tend to think that the grass is greener on the other side, and that was my experience, my brother and myself, and we decided to see what else was out there. I guess it was due to peer pressure as well. That I would say had a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. And from there, I experienced or experimented in cigarettes, cigarette smoking, drugs, alcohol, the whole bit.
Yes.
Of course, when you're going into that kind of experimentation, you go, and I was hooked on it, you know, from the word go. I couldn't stop once I had my first try with the cigarettes, and I guess that just led from one thing to another. Of course, you go looking for friends that are doing the same thing as well, and so that was the direction that I took. I guess there was a period of time where I was torn between the two because, like I said, I'd been raised in a normal upbringing of Adventism, and so I had a lot of material that I'd read, of course, reading the Bible, etc., other books. I knew that there was a war going on in my mind, a spiritual warfare, and of course I kept shutting it down, and eventually I just went right out of the church, left it for 13 years.
For 13 years?
13 years,
okay, Duane, so for 13 years you've walked away from your faith, etc.
Yeah,
yeah, later on you obviously came back.
I did.
What happened?
Okay, well, I went from, in my experience anyway, I went from bad to worse, and I just got into, you know, it begins with, like I was mentioning, with drinking and carrying on with some socialising. That took me into pubs, that took me into clubs. Eventually it took me into a lot of, well, I got into trouble with the law because of alcohol.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, well, the last time I was in court, I remember the judge saying to me, he said, Duane, he said, if I see your face in this court one more time, you're going straight inside.
Is that so? And
I said to my friend as I walked out of the court, I said, you know, I knew what my problem was. It was all alcohol related, and got to the point where a friend of mine who she was actually an alcoholic herself, but she'd been going to AAs for a number of years, and she dragged me along there. Went there for 3 or 4 months to AAs to try and get off the stuff, and then I realised that at that point that's not where I was supposed to be. I was meant to be back in the pew, church pew, and you know, it was a real refresher for me when I went back to church for the very first time.
You simply made a decision.
I did. I hit rock bottom.
After the judge's comment?
After the judge's comment. Like I said, I was just getting into a lot of trouble, and hit rock bottom. And my friend said to me, the same one that went to court with me, he said, well, Duane, he said, the only good thing to do when you hit rock bottom is you can only go up. You can't go further down. And I said, yeah, well, that's true. So then a friend of mine rang me and asked me if I'd like to go on a fly and build. overseas, which is, of course, you do some voluntary service for
mission trip
over into, and I went over into New Guinea. Went up there into the highlands twice and then went over to Vanuatu, and it was the trip that I went to Vanuatu on that I really made my mind up. I went over there with a group of young people, found out where we were going. We were going onto a little island with 300 people, no shops, nothing, not even a vehicle. Yes. So I loaded myself up with cigarettes and went down to the pub in Port Vila, had a couple of drinks there, and then off we went the next morning up into this island.
This is the Flying Build. Flying
Build, yep. Because I was still out of the church at that time, but and then mixing in with this group. But what really struck me was when I went up to the when we went into the island of Auri. You know, you had some people there, and every one of them just had, you know, they had absolutely nothing, and yet they had the biggest smile on their face. Yes. I mean, I had absolutely nothing, and I wasn't smiling about anything. and I found myself running to the church every, I was there for 3 or 4 weeks, and loved their singing. Yes. And it was there that turned my life around. I decided to come back and give my heart to the Lord, and that's what I did.
That's a powerful testimony, Duane. You're a builder by trade.
Yes, I am.
And now you are, in fact, what we call a bivocational lay pastor here working in Victoria. So that means you build, but you care for a church.
Exactly. Yeah, and I care for
fantastic.
A local church. 3 years just gone. Yes. We've been situated down there at Warrigal in East Victoria.
And you enjoy it?
Love it. Yeah, it's very good. And you know, it's been a you know, you're just dealing with I guess it's people personalities, completely different from the building site, but it's been a real challenge. I have to admit, it's a challenge, but on the whole of it, it's a very good experience, and I wouldn't trade it.
I mean, I've heard very good reports about your work, and I've been to your church, and you have a particular passion for outreach, evangelism, sharing the gospel message with others. And you've done that there, haven't you? Yes,
I thoroughly enjoy it. When we arrived there 3 years ago, the church, I admit, it probably wasn't a growing church. It was I suppose, a dying church, and we were. Well, I guess there was around 15 to 20 members when we were there. For sure. One of the youngest there would be around in the 40s or 50s. And I thought, well, what are we going to do here? Lord, you've brought us here. What can we do? And from there we went into an evangelistic crusade. And
thanks very much for that, Duane. We'll just pick up on that story. We'll go right now to a break. I'm sure you're enjoying this story with Kim and Duane. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Amazing Stories of Amazing Grace, and we're with Kim and Duane. Kim and Duane, we want to go now to you, Kim, and just explore your background and where your story and Duane's sort of meet. So let's go back. So your childhood, you brought up in a Christian home, Adventist home like Duane?
No Christian upbringing at all.
None at all?
None at all.
Okay, so it was just a very secular sort of family.
Yeah, a little bit of religious education from primary school. That was
okay, all. I think you mentioned to me that you sang a few songs at school, was it, or something?
Yeah, sang a few songs about Jesus and maybe visited a church on a little excursion, but that was all.
That was it? That was it. Yeah, but a happy childhood?
Yeah, happy, yeah.
Yep, no, very good. But, yeah, Kim, I remember you sharing with us that... was it when you were a teenager that there was some activities that you used to be involved in? Just share with us.
I think I was about 14, 15, and we started to do seances with Ouija boards, and had a...
So when you say we, you're talking about your family, you're talking about friends, or both?
Family and friends, yeah.
So your mum and dad?
My mum, my dad, and us kids and some friends, and it was sort of like a Saturday night thing.
Was it sort of a social thing, was it?
Yeah, I think that's what that's what it mainly was. It was a bit of a party trick or something like that. Let's see if this works and things like that. And it did, and had a bit of a scary experience with that. Yeah.
And, so what sort of things, you know, this would happen, and the family and friends would get together, and what you'd call spirits in, and and
basically, if I was in the room, then we would have a lot of trouble.
When you were in the room?
When I was in the room, and it came out in the seance that it said that they wanted to do possession, and possibly, I don't know if it wanted to possess me or something like that. And if I'd leave the room, it would all stop, and
everything would go okay.
And everything would go okay. But when I came in, it would just go crazy. And I was actually told while we were having a seance that by one of the entities, I don't know how they work, but it said that I actually had to stop what I was doing and never do it again. And I never have.
Isn't that amazing? So some entity or a voice or whatever, but there was a clear impression that you had that somebody direct you, don't get involved in this anymore.
Yes, yes.
Yes, amazing situation. And so what, the Ouija board, things used to move around, that sort of thing?
Well, it was all letters, and the glass would move around the letters and spell things out for us and all that.
It's amazing stuff. It's a real world out there, the spirit world, isn't it?
Yes,
it's just
it is.
Amazing. Okay, so the childhood and then you, continue school? Yeah,
continued school, and I was married at 19 and started having a family. And probably about 21, 22, I just felt something was missing. Just something, I couldn't explain it. It was just something that was deep inside, that was empty. And I thought there has to be something more. What do we, what's the purpose for it all? And so I began searching.
So where did that, because I remember you telling me, Kim, it was a search that went on for what, something like 12 years. Yeah. So share some of that search with us. Where did you go? Was it a Christian search or?
No, I never actually went to Christianity. I started off in witchcraft.
In witchcraft?
Yes. It was presented as very earthy and care for the earth, and I am a bit of an environmentalist. I like to do my part for that. So I came from that angle, but ultimately it ties back into spiritualism again. And then after I researched and did that for a few years and read a lot of books and that, and went into Eastern mysticism, which is sort of meditations, transcendental meditations and practices like that, breathing techniques and all this, but none of that was satisfying. I still had that empty feeling. You're doing all these things, but nothing was fulfilling. And my husband and I, we also looked into a lot of other things like the New World Order and things that were happening in the world, because I had a deep sense that something big was going to happen, and it actually gave me an anxious knot in my stomach that there was something going on, something was going to happen, and I felt I needed to prepare for that, but I didn't know what it was, when it was coming, or how to prepare, and so I think, with all my searching, I was looking for answers for that as well, and that led us to the New World Order. We did a common law course, and I think that was my first introduction to the Bible, because it was based on the law of God, and through that I learnt the truth about the Sabbath, that it was Saturday, not Sunday.
So was this a book or?
No, it was like a little seminar that we went to.
Yes, okay. Was this with Duane?
No, this was not Adventist run.
Okay, right.
It was actually run by a spiritualist.
Okay.
But they were using the Bible.
Okay. And so you started to look in Scripture at that point.
Yes, I was starting to look into the Scripture at that point, and following on with that, I went into some healing arts. Reiki and pranic healing using auras and chakras and crystals and divination and all those sorts of things. But again, nothing was fulfilling. It all left me just feeling empty. And I felt like I was on this big wheel that kept going around and around and around. I was never getting to the end of anything. Each new subject that I explored just led me onto another wheel that went around and around.
Fascinating.
So.
No, the witchcraft thing would have been a bit scary at times.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that a lot of people that do that, they really don't have any idea what they're getting involved in.
Yes.
The white magic, black magic, there's no difference. It's all the same.
So that's a fascinating search you've been on, Kim, and for 12 years you pursued these various belief systems.
I think you got to a point where, if I could just interject here, you got to a point where you just gave up, didn't you? You just said...
Yeah, this was just before you ran the campaign. I was just searching, and because I like to go out at night and look at the stars and things like that, because I've always thought, you know, there's all this, there must be something, you know, we can't just be here for no reason. And I went out one night and I looked at the stars, and I just had a moment of just utter giving up. I said, look, I know the truth is out there, and I know I need to find it, but I can't. Everywhere I go, I end up at a dead end. I said, if it's out there, you're going to have to give it to me and show me.
Thank you very much for that, Kim. That's a very moving story. I'm sure you're enjoying this enthralling story of Kim's and Duane's, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, and we're with Kim and Duane. Now folks, I want to now come to the part of the story where your individual stories essentially interact. So let's go to you, Duane. So you're a lay pastor, you know, caring for a church. Right. You've had your own rebirth experience, and you want to reach out and share with your community the love that you found in Jesus. So what did you do?
Yeah, when we came to the church, I recognised that there was a need for some community work, and my interest is very much tied in with the outreach, mainly because I was out there myself for 13 years. And when I came into the church, I thought, there are people out there that need to be reached, and it was just a burden that was in my heart. So when I took on this bivocational work, my greatest desire was to go out and reach the community. So what we did was that we decided to plan for a public seminar. Okay. And we based the seminar on globalism and the New World Order. And because it was interesting what she was saying before. So perhaps this is what caught her attention with the brochure. And so we had what we did was that we had a group of people that went out on the doors. We decided to take the brochures to the doors, and we did the entire community on the doors. And then we had another group that I guess weren't as courageous to go on the doors. We sent that group out on the letterboxes. We did that. We ran ads in the paper. We did all the groundwork there for 3 weeks outside of the program starting. And we hired the best hall in town, and it ran for 3 weeks. And yeah, it was quite a successful event for the community.
And Duane, I remember you sharing with us, many people came to the program, and a significant number of people were baptised as a result of that program. One of the persons that came along was indeed Kim.
Kim, that's right.
And so, Kim, we just want to pick up here. You're out under the stars, and sort of essentially pleading to somebody. You know, there's got to be truth out there somewhere.
Yes.
Where did that happen in relation to Duane's program?
Within a week.
Within a week?
Yeah.
So you're out under the stars, and what did you get? You saw an ad on TV, or?
No, I actually got a brochure in the mail. And
literally a few days later?
Within 3 days, I had a brochure in my hand, and it was New World Order, you know, what does the Bible say, you know, and...
That's providential, isn't it?
It is. It was. From the minute I got this brochure, I couldn't stop shaking.
Is that so?
Yeah, I got really anxious and thought, I have to go to this. And I didn't actually relax until I'd rang Duane and booked my seat. Yes. That I had a seat in for the program, and I think then I had to wait maybe 4 days or something for it to begin.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that phone call. Yeah, she was quite anxious, and
isn't that amazing?
yeah, she wanted to make sure that that seat was booked. So, so I guaranteed her a seat, front row seat. Excellent,
excellent. And because again, you'd been to this other seminar, you know, which wasn't run by Christians, you know, about the New World Order, and so Kimmy went along. What was your reaction?
Well, the first night we got there, Duane basically said that you'll not hear any opinions, no theories. What you will get will be straight out of the Bible. And I thought, great, something solid, finally, you know, because I'd been searching for 12 years and I'd read so many theories, so many opinions, nothing could be proven, and this sounded really solid. And after the first couple of nights, it was like a big jigsaw puzzle was starting to come together, with going through the prophecies of Daniel in Revelation and what was happening in the world. And of course we'd looked into the New World Order and different other things, and these other topics were coming up in the seminar, and everything was just coming together like a big jigsaw puzzle. And I finally had a full picture from, you know, start to finish, where we came from, where we're heading,
what's the future,
and yeah, and it was a great peace that came over me.
Is that so?
Yeah.
As you opened the Word and discovered the Word.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
I've never felt that sort of peace before.
Isn't that wonderful?
Just a comforting peace.
Yes. Yeah. And you obviously continued with the series. I assume you went home and told your husband about
Yes. Well, at this stage, my husband was at home with the children because we have 4 children. And so he was staying home because he's from a Catholic background, and he's just wasn't interested in church or anything religious, but he was happy for me to go.
And he runs a big business himself.
Yes, that's right.
A big family business.
Yes, we're in a family business.
So, but he was happy for you to go.
He was happy for me to go, and so I went there, and I'd come home and I'd tell him things about what I was learning, and he was, yeah, that sounds good, yeah. And
so eventually there was a baptism?
Yes. I'm not sure if it was, I think it was after the campaign finished that I came to church with my 2 youngest children, and just to see what it was like, because I'd never been to church before, and have been going ever since.
That's wonderful.
In fact, her eldest boy refused to come to church. Her husband had to actually physically pick him up, put him in the car and said, "You're going to church." He said, I know it's not really for us, but we're going to go anyway. And they all went, and now he got baptised as well with his mother.
With me.
Is that so? Yeah. It was a pretty special day, Kim.
It was,
yeah. He took an interest.
And your husband comes to church too?
Yes, yeah, we all go to church too.
That's wonderful.
It's good.
And so life now, what would you say?
Life has meaning. Finally, it has a purpose.
Yes.
And I know that any time I need an answer, it's right there for me in the Bible.
And you're a rejoicing
absolutely.
follower of Jesus Christ. No, well, it must be very satisfying, Duane. We've just got to, very briefly, but it must be very, very satisfying, because I've been to your church and seen numbers of people have been baptised because of this particular evangelistic program.
Yeah, it's been a real blessing.
So I just want to say God bless you in your work, and thanks for being with us, Kim, and I'm sure you've enjoyed this inspiring story of the journey of these 2 people, and we look forward to seeing you next time right here in Hope Chat.